Hey, welcome to Optimize Your Body with Martin Silva, where we talk raw, uncut facts to truly help you optimize your body.
So I have a great guest here today, Anthony Minichiello, ex-professional rugby league player for the Roosters here in Sydney. And how you doing today, mate?
I'm good, yeah. Thanks for inviting me in on your podcast, mate. I'm heavily into my health and fitness, so it should be a good day.
Good. Appreciate you coming down, mate, 'cause I know how busy you are, so thanks very much for that. And so how's things going with the Minifit? Because I know you coach the kids and stuff now, so how's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. So I retired, almost 4 years ago now, and I had Minifit sort of set up towards the end of my career. I always loved working with sort of kids when I was playing footy and stuff, and when we did the coaching clinics and the holiday clinics, they were always fun times. So I decided to create my own sort of company called Minifit, and that was directed to primary school age children. And I sort of started it with the idea of getting into the schools, because some schools or most schools now don't have PE teachers. They outsource their physical activity. So I did that and birthday parties and then some holiday clinics as well. But now being retired and doing a partnership with Leagues Clubs Australia, I've just directed it towards just holiday clinics. So I take Minifit out to all the Leagues Clubs, generally sort of out west where they all are. And it was a really busy time. Last school holidays, actually. We had one every day, so Monday to Friday, every day, a different clinic, and then the weekend off, and then again one every day, Monday to Friday again for the second week. So it was a big 2 weeks, but good fun.
Awesome. So I'll just jump to this question then whilst we're on the topic of Minifit, mate. I just wanted to, because it's great that you're doing this kind of thing, because I think this day and age, getting kids moving, active, and keeping them involved with fitness and exercise, I think is very important, right? So, how do you think that's what kind of impact do you think that's having on the children? Because, as I say, with technology and stuff, trying to get them away from their tablets and smartphones and stuff nowadays, I think it's just great that, you're doing something like this. Yeah,
it's pretty important. I think, from when I grew up on 5 acres, actually, so I was always outdoors, riding bikes, motorbikes, running around, so keeping a very active lifestyle. Played a lot of different sports. But this day and age, there's probably there's two things that probably detrimental to our kids, and one of those is technology, which you just mentioned, and the tablets and the iPhones and all that type of stuff, trying to get them off that to re-engage with other kids and get out and be active and play different sports and just run around in the backyard, I suppose. And then the other thing is nutrition, and you look around and there's the refined carbohydrates and sugars that are so easily accessible these days, can have a bad effect on the way they grow up and the way they I suppose their long-term health, and that's pretty important. So, at Minifit we talk about getting active and having fun, and obviously it's heavily rugby league based as well. But we do fitness and all that type of stuff as well. But then we talk about eating whole fresh food and eating your good quality protein and your fruit and vegetables, and trying to cut out all the processed stuff and soft drinks and all that. So it's a pretty good program, and we've reached a huge number of kids. In the last school holidays, almost 200 kids every day. So you're getting up in the thousands there. So Hopefully we're making a difference.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, actually, I found out about you through Saula Campbell, Saula Chamberlain.
Sula, yeah, that's right.
Sorry,
yeah,
it's Chamberlain, the surname. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and she, because I know she said she was doing the nutrition for the Roosters, the team used to play for a while. And I'm glad you touched upon the point there, because I always stress this to people, how important it is to steer clear, or at least reduce the amount of pro-inflammatory food you have, because we don't realize, people are not really mindful enough to know, the vegetable oils, like even canola oil, sunflower, all those things that you find are pretty much terrible, combined with the refined sugars, and it's really doing some damage to people's gut, and then what else, and people gaining weight and whatnot. And I think the kids, I mean, how do you, what I was going to ask you is, how do you kind of, what is it you educate them about, and how do you get your message across with the whole food approach, because they're constantly bombarded with...
Yeah, with obviously kids, you got to keep it pretty basic.
Yeah, of course.
So we give them a booklet at the end of the session, along with a hat as well. But in the booklet, it talks about exercise, talks about nutrition, talks about hydration, talks about sleep. So if you get those three things on the right track, then you grow up healthy and strong, and that's part of the booklet. Growing up healthy and strong. I asked the kids about nutrition, about whole fresh food. What does that mean to you? What are some types of protein? What are the vegetables that you like? So we just get the kids, or the conversation going with the kids, and just get them to ask questions. And I ask them about, what happens if we drank soft drink every day, or what happens if we ate bad food every day? And most kids put their hand up and say, look, we'll get sick, or we'll get a disease, or even people say we'll get type 2 diabetes, which is on the cards. So the kids are generally, they're pretty smart, but because it's everywhere, all these foods are everywhere, and it's easy to access them at any time, any point in the day. It's just convenient. So, but trying to educate the kids that eating real food matters for their body and their long-term health is pretty important. And then the booklet has tips and hints about for the parents as well. So keeping that quite general. And but yeah, look, I've gone into the health and fitness area quite a lot deeper than that, because I've had my own experiences with my injuries as well. So it's something that I love.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So I'm glad you touched upon that. I was going to go into something then about just one quick thing about kids, and you saying they're smart. They're a lot smarter than what people think, aren't they? So I was just going to quickly ask you, like with your, because I know you've got kids of your own, right?
Yep.
Like how do you, and how do you manage it? Because obviously they basically pretty much mimic what you do, right? So
yep.
I guess you eat a lot of healthy foods and stuff, and I know obviously you can't they've got to have a life. They go to parties and they have.
Yeah.
But how do you apply the principles you teach the kids to your kids?
Well, at home I'm pretty meticulous with Azura, my daughter, who's 4.5. So all our food is from the best sourced food. So if I'm getting protein, it's all pasture-raised protein at home. Organic fruit and vegetables. We do a lot of bone broths, which Azura loves. A lot of slow cooks, and I get her involved in the cooking process. So she sees that making something, she gets excited about it. So when it comes out of the oven or it comes out of the pan, then she's put some effort into making it. So that helps. She'll go in and out of phases with vegetables and meat and whatnot. But I know that she's got a strong foundation at home, because she basically has bone broth most days. Good quality protein at night with vegetables and fruit. And then when, as you mentioned before, kids' parties, when we're out at a party, then be a kid, go and enjoy yourself. Try and limit it a little bit. I try and limit it a little bit, but I let her be a kid and enjoy the cake and stuff like that. But when she's at home, I know she's got a strong foundation, so which is pretty important.
Great stuff. Yeah, going into your rugby career now, your footy career even, rugby league. I looked at your stats and pretty impressive, mate. In terms of the Sydney Roosters, which are, by the way, folks, they're like a top-level rugby league team here in Sydney. Do you still hold the record for the most caps? Or?
I do, yeah, 302 games.
302 games,
yeah.
Jeez. So playing at that level and actually that amount of games for that long, because what period was that over? How many years?
So I started in 2000, I was 19, and then retired at 2014, and I was 34.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a big stretch. You did your time there, mate. Good work. But no, I was just going to ask you, how the hell did you structure your life, like your personal life and everything else, around your career as a top-level elite rugby player?
So I'll give you a basic rundown of my career. So as I mentioned earlier, I grew up on 5 acres, so being active was a huge part of my life. And then I'm from an Italian background, so both parents are Italian heritage, and the Italian philosophy is to grow your own, cook your own. So we had our own cows, our own chickens, our own eggs, vegetable patches, fruit trees, all in the backyard. And my mum's a pretty good cook. So we used to get the local butcher over once a year and chop up the cow and throw the meat in the freezer, and it's all pasture raised as nature intended it. So we get the benefits of all that. And my brother's still playing now professionally. My sister played high level netball and is now a physio. So we're all involved in sport, but we had a great foundation of nutrition with not knowing about it just by living off the land, basically. And then I signed at the Roosters at 16 and moved at home at 18. But made my debut in 2000, as I mentioned, at 19. But I didn't get injured for the first 6 years of my career, not one injury. So I played the most amount of games at anyone in the NRL. And then basically I was out every weekend, drinking, partying, as you do, as there's a bit of a huge drinking culture back in the early 2000s. Eating out every night because I was living with the boys in the East. So things started to deteriorate quite slowly, but not through injuries. It was through a back injury. So obviously my disc started to dry up and get degenerative a little bit, and I was still playing good football, and people will say you've got to look after your back. You've got 2 bulging discs down in your lumbar spine. But, I was winning these awards. We won a grand final already, so I was just taking things for granted. I wasn't really listening. And then the pre-season of 06, just in a normal training drill, just got checked and had this massive nerve pain down my left leg. So my disc had ruptured. So I had to go in and get an operation, laminectomy on my lumbar spine. Took the rest of the year off. And then the following year I come back in 07, and the disc above does the same thing. So I go back in, get that operated on, take the rest of the year off. 2008 rolls around, I play the first 10 games, and then I get a pretty significant disc bulge in my neck, 1 millimetre away from my spinal cord. I rehab that, and I play at the end of the year. But at the time, I'm thinking, what the hell's going on with my spine? I've seen surgeons, seeing everyone to try and find out what I could do to come back and play some good footy. And basically they were telling me at the time that all my discs were dehydrated. You shouldn't play on, really. You should give up this career and find something else that's non-contact, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I found a guy that was that believed in me and said, you can improve, you can get better if you're willing to put in the hard work and time and change a few lifestyle aspects. So I was pretty invested in that straight away, and I started working with him quite heavily. And the following year, 2009 season rolls around, and I do all my ligaments in my ankle and fracture my fibula under my knee. So I'm out again for 4 years running. And I was coming off contract at the time, and I went back to Aaron McKenzie and I went, mate, I'm injured again. He goes, you know what, this is actually going to be good for you. You can take your time to build a stronger foundation through your spine without having to play week-to-week contact and try and get up for every game. So, Aaron and I worked together at his fitness studio, Origin of Energy, and basically he was talking to me mostly about nutrition and what it plays, the role it plays in recovery, your long-term health. And then I thought, basically, this is how I used to eat when I was a kid, eating more natural fats, lower carbohydrate spectrum, cutting out the refined carbs and sugars, good quality protein, the good quality oils, getting rid of all the vegetable oils and industrial seed oils that create havoc in the body and the artery walls. And I just jumped onto it. I was 100% invested in it, and I just seen a transformation within myself straight away. I had some gut issues as well. I had ulcers developing, and so it wasn't just injuries. I was starting to get health issues, and I was only in my 20s still. So I seen all that transform and fade away just through nutrition. So that was pretty eye-opening to me. So I was heavily invested in that, and now I am still to this day, where we talk about that a little bit at Minifit, but we've got some other programs and some other keynote stuff that I do. I talk about nutrition, and I give them 4 steps. The source of your food is step 1, the importance of that. Step 2 is the process of it, how you cook it and what oils you cook with. And step 3 is eliminating the bad stuff that's going to ruin performance and keep us sick for longer. And then step 4 is the intermittent fasting and the role that plays on long-term health as well. So this is the space I love and learn about every day.
Oh, mate, so many questions coming to mind then, but I'll just go into, because nutrition is something I'm really fascinated about and learning a lot about. And yeah, I was just going to say about like intermittent fasting. That's something I do on a daily basis as well. And it's just like I keep kind of, on a lot of my podcast episodes, I've come across with, I end up with the same message, when it comes to nutrition. It's like, obviously most people overeat, like we said, refined carbohydrates, refined sugars, which you'll find in, white breads and white pastas, and then not to mention all the rest of the stuff that comes out of packets. But if you could just give us a quick heads up, intermittent fasting, do you do that at the moment yourself? And do you, like, what kind of foods do you eat now? Do you eat quite a high fat diet with low carbohydrates generally? How do you work it right now? And if you could, mate, when you were actually at your top level training as well, if you can remember, for example, on a day you played a big game, what kind of carbs? I don't know, anything you've got, mate. Yeah.
So this is there's a couple of questions in that. I'll start with I practice. We'll start with the fasting. I practice intermittent fasting every day. So I haven't eaten yet today. So I've gone almost 16 hours without food. And if you tell everyone this, the conventional nutritionist will say, "What are you doing? You're starving yourself." But the science backs the fasting up. Well, so fasting's been around for hundreds of years. Every culture, every religion has done it. It's just been lost, and now it's come back into fashion a little bit now. But the benefits from fasting and not eating, the body can turn its attention to cellular repair, regeneration of the body. Raising your own stem cell production and hormone levels to fix old injuries and
even gene expression.
Gene expression. Like it's the science behind it all, and the stuff that's coming out with the benefits of fasting is amazing. The body goes for more than 14 to 16 hours or more in a fast, and the body will induce autophagy. That's cellular cleansing or self-eating. So you've got hyperactive white blood cells, maybe that gets eaten up by autophagy. I've had experience myself with a piece of disc breaking off in my lower back 2 years ago, and I got it MRI'd, and my club doctor said, "Look, you need that taken out. It's a 1 centimetre diameter piece." And I said, "Well, I'm going to try and let the body break it down naturally itself." And he goes, "Well, good luck with that. We'll see how it goes." Anyway, I gave it a year, and I MRI'd again. I was heavily into the fasting thing then, and I got an MRI'd again, and that 1 centimetre piece had disappeared. So the body had broke it down and metabolised it through fasting. So
it's incredible, absolutely.
It's unbelievable, yeah. And then like the benefits from just staying mentally sharp and mentally focused is incredible. Like the longer I go in a fast, I feel much more focus and more energy the longer I go. And look, I love food too, so it's not.
You're Italian, you've got
100%. So like when I eat, I eat a good. I eat well.
Intermittent feasting, I call it.
Yeah,
it's like big meals, man.
The feast sort of fast thing is perfect. When I feast, I eat. You know what I mean? And when I fast, I fast because I know the benefits that it's going to give me. And
when you do feast, sorry to interrupt, mate, it's whole foods. Like a lot of people think is, I like to mention to a lot of people about intermittent fasting because I do it all the time. But in terms of actually building a healthy relationship with food and eating the right foods, obviously that's number one. So when you do break your fast, obviously, for example, today, I don't know, what would you have? Like lots of vegetables. Like, give us an example.
So today I probably might duck into Silva's after this and get a takeaway slow cooked meal. I think she's got slow cooked lamb shoulder with some root vegetables. So like with the diet sort of thing too. With I've done keto pretty strictly, paleo, the intermittent fasting thing. I like to keep the diet variation there, so I'm not staying on one specific diet all the time because I think the body adapts to that and gets resistant, and then obviously you'll plateau after a certain amount of time. All the research in the podcast that I've listened to is diet variation is pretty important. From say if you're a vegetarian to the keto to paleo to just normal. So I think variation is key as well. But for me, I love I love slow cooked meals, like cooking things overnight in my slow cooker, like a lamb shoulder or lamb shank or the ossibuk or the shin of the animal, like all the connective tissue muscles of the animals, which offers much more nutrition for us to benefit from, instead of, and that's, the talks that I do as well, people say, buying organic grass-fed meat, so much more expensive. But I say, well, you got to get to know your local butcher or local farmer, because you buy the cheaper cuts. You don't buy the T-bone or the eye fillet and all that type of stuff. They're the ones that are charged through the roof. Buy the lamb shank or the lamb riblets. So they're much cheaper, they're much tougher cut. But when you cook them long and slow, they offer us more nutrition anyway. And when you're eating a more natural fat, whole food diet, you don't need to eat every 2 hours because you're not hungry. Your blood sugar's stable. So basically, in the long run, you're spending less anyway. And if you practice intermittent fasting as well, it's even more of a saving. So
yeah, exactly.
It's interesting when you sink your teeth into this stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And just all the different benefits, as you said then. Yeah, I could go on forever, but like you said, it was just blew my mind then when you were saying about your injury, because that just goes to show a guy at your level has actually just said that on a podcast. That was one of the big driving benefits behind your recovery was the fasting, right? It's
100%. And I wish I was into the fasting. I knew about the fasting thing when I was playing, because I would have tested it out where I would have maybe played in a little bit of a fasted state, not too long, but a little bit of a fasted state where my mind and my mental clarity is really clear. It would have been interested to play a game and feel the difference of energy or clarity. So yeah, it's an interesting space. And also I didn't mention before that I MRI'd my back again when I retired. And as I mentioned before, all my discs were black in 2007 when I had that initial MRI, and that doctor said, look, basically find a new career.
Ruptured discs, right?
Two, yeah. I had two discs already operated on. I had another small disc bulge in my T11, in my thoracic. Then I had a significant disc bulge in my C5, C6, in my neck. So, and then we just went and MRI'd my whole back, and all the discs were black. And he said, look, basically, you got to find a new sport. All these discs are degenerative. They should be white, and they're black. So we walked out of the meeting pretty dire, and that's when I ended up meeting Aaron. And then when I MRI'd my back in 2014 when I retired, all my discs are white again, except the ones I got operated on naturally. They've been damaged, but all the rest are white again. And no doctor was telling me that could happen. And that's all through nutrition. So I'm no doctor, no nutritionist, but I've lived the standard Australian diet, and I know where that got me. It got me injuries and health problems.
That's exactly right.
So eating a more natural fat, healthy fat diet with good quality protein, good quality vegetables, and practicing the intermittent fasting as well. I just seen that the benefits, and the benefits are there on scans, I've blood tested myself. I've done all the tests, and my results are better now than when I was actually playing professional sport.
Insane. But yeah, like you were just saying about rotating foods then, and the importance of actually not sticking to one thing when it comes to your food. And like that's something, because I get gut issues a lot myself, and just much like yourself, actually, it's probably primarily from eating a UK diet back in the day, and obviously other factors come into it as well, and whatnot. But yeah, but I still get gut issues now, and it just hit the nail on the head. Then I need to dip into I haven't fully done keto yet, the low carb thing.
Yep.
And how did you find that? Just quickly explain to people what keto is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the ketogenic diet is so you're in a state of nutritional ketosis. So if you've got a blood glucose meter, and you can get these from the chemist, which I've got, and you can test your blood sugar, and you can test your blood ketone level as well. So if you're 0.5 and above, that means you're in nutritional ketosis, and when you're in ketosis, that means the liver's producing ketones, which is another fuel source for our brain and our bodies. So the body runs on two systems, glucose and ketones. So when glycogen runs out, or glucose runs out, the body will switch from burning glucose, which is carbohydrates, to burning fat as fuel, and that's a more of a premium fuel source for us, much more cleaner fuel source. So if you're eating keto, that means you're on a more healthy, high-fat diet, moderate protein, and really low carbohydrates. More above-ground vegetables that don't give you a spike in blood sugar. And then that means the body will start producing ketones, and you're burning fat as fuel. So these stores are harder to access, but when you do access them, you'll feel pretty amazing. Just the mental clarity around it all, and then. But the thing is, like people that are full keto, they advocates of it. I don't think you can stay in that ketogenic diet for too long.
Very restrictive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very restrictive. But then, the body, as we mentioned earlier, will adapt and get resistant to it. So cycling in and out of that, practicing the fasting, letting the body recover and repair and regenerate is pretty important. And then, if you do have a birthday on, or you have a special occasion, or it's Christmas or Easter, feast on whatever you want. But you've got the tools to recover and repair when you get back into the good whole natural food and fasting.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. I'm going to cut the nutrition part off there because we'll just talk the whole thing about
me too.
All good. Oh, mate, your knowledge has blown me away on nutrition. It's great to hear. I was just going to ask you about your career. What was your what would you say was the peak of your career, and also basically what was the best part about being a top level athlete, and what would you say was the peak of your career?
Oh well, being a top level athlete is it's pretty amazing if you think about it. Like you go into work, go into training every day with 25 of your best mates, and you're just hanging out with your mates, and you train and you have these really high ups and downs. Professional sport is you have the adrenaline rushes that you get, and big games that you do win is something special. And it's hard to describe when you're walking down a tunnel and it's a big grand final. You're walking out to 80,000 fans, or you're playing an Origin game or for Australia. And that feeling as you just before you walk out, you got butterflies, you have the excitement and the fear as well. All that is just mixed in. And then when you do actually win a grand final, win certain big games, the highs are pretty unmatched in life, and you do that with 17 other blokes, so you're always connected with them for the rest of your life. So that's the benefits of sport and what it gives the players and gives the fans as well. Fans love to see their team win. And then, look, I've had plenty of highlights. So the first 5 years of my career, 6 years of my career when I didn't get injured, I was winning some great awards, the Golden Boot Award and all that type of stuff, and Wally Lewis Medal. But the 2002 Premiership was definitely a highlight. But then going and having those down periods where I was injured for 4 years, looking back at it now, that was I could say that was a highlight because I got educated about things. And I wouldn't be sitting here speaking to you if I didn't get injured that day. I 100% believe that. And then coming through that, and the first full season since I was injured at 26, but the first full season I played was when I was 30 again. And I played the next 5 years without any injury. And I got the captain of my club and win the premiership in 2013 with my wife beside me, and she was pregnant at the time too. So 2013 was probably the highlight year of my career. And that was towards the end of my career.
And it's interesting you say that, because I bet at the time when you were injured, and I bet it was really frustrating because obviously you've gone from that Golden Boot Award, by the way, that's essentially International Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, they give it out once a year, and it's for the best player in the world in all competitions. So, that was a huge honour at the time. Then the following year, that's when the injuries hit, So... But looking back at it, it was a huge learning curve that needed to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And what was the another one about your career? What would you say was the what challenges did you face and setbacks and stuff? And it must be a bit of a roller coaster when you reach the top, right? So you've got to the top of the mountain, and you're at your peak. What were the biggest challenges you faced then in terms of the psychological side of it? And keeping yourself mentally well enough to keep performing at that level.
Yeah, the challenges you face when you're sort of at the top of your game. So I was at the top of my game in 2003, 2004, 2005. I was young. I was 23, 24, 25. So keeping grounded, I suppose, and not taking things for granted. You know, like at the time I was living in a house at Bondi with 4 other guys, and you know, we were partying heaps, and you know, it was great times. You know, I wouldn't change it because it's led me to where I am today. But if I knew some of the knowledge I knew now, just back then, you know, you would have applied the nutrition stuff back then and really seen how much heights you could have gone to. You know what I mean? But that's all life and part of learning. So you know, I don't regret anything. We did some silly things, but great memories. You know, like you know, we get together with those boys and we just talk about the house where we lived. We called it the House of Grouse, and
good times.
It was good times. But yeah, good fun.
Yeah, you need that. You need that phase.
Yeah,
especially.
Yeah, you need it. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and I was just going to say then, because obviously the good times and the party and all that kind of stuff, and enjoying yourself. You must have had to keep. On another note, you must have had to keep like a good like support network of people around you. And would you say like the lads you live with, then the 3 other lads you said, right? And so your support network and the people around you. That obviously must be essential to keep you where you were.
Yeah, it's definitely essential to surround yourself with good people, positive people that are going to help you along the way. Obviously, my parents are first and foremost. You know, they my dad worked his butt off to give us kids the opportunity to play whatever sport we wanted. We played a lot of sports. My mum filmed every game, took us everywhere. So they're our biggest supporters. And then when we were playing first at the Roosters, and you know, we had a great gang. You know, like we had Brett Finch, we had Michael Crocker, Luke Ricketson, Brad Fittler, all these guys that we're all best mates now still. These guys were just positive about everything. You know, we would come to training and sometimes you'll be a little bit hungover from Sunday night, and mate, it would be fitness, but we will be leading the way, and no one will be whinging, no one will be complaining about what we had on that day. We just took care of it, you know. And that was the culture in the team at the time, and those guys are all still my best mates now.
That's amazing. It's good you're showing it, because you build that unit of people, and obviously, like you said, you didn't say this, but you literally go into war, right? So like, man, you watch it on the TV, and like, you know, it's funny because people are like, oh, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I just look, I'm just like, you know, I'm in awe just to get at that level alone, let alone to, you know, to maintain it for the amount of time you did. So you literally go into war with these people, right? So I bet like that's another thing which...
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's, you know, the camaraderie, and you know, it's hard to explain when you go into a big game because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, someone might try and take your head off. There might be a fight. There might be someone rush down the line to try and bash you, or you might drop a high ball. You might or you might score. Or you might do a big tackle or score the winning try. So you don't know what's going to happen. So that unpredictability is just around in the change room before, but the way you sort of make everyone comfortable is you connect with your teammates, you reiterate the game plan and all that type of stuff, and when it all comes together and then you win that big game, you've just looked the 17 guys in the eye, and you've just come through a massive game that you've just won, a grand final or whatever it may be. So yeah, you're connected for life from because that feeling is certainly hard to replicate in general work or general life. You know, it's the highs are pretty high.
Absolutely, and glad you finished off with that, because the next question was, how did you manage to, you know, do the transition from being, how was the transition from, you know, being an elite rugby player to, you know, running a business and going back, if you like, in a sense, to like a normal life, and then, you know, building your business from scratch? How did you find that transition in general, not just business, just personal, everything?
Look, I think most athletes find it really hard because of the heights that I just mentioned, and what you go through as a team and as a unit and all that type of stuff. But for me in 2014, the year prior, end of 13, I had my daughter Azura. I found it really hard to get into the pre-season. I wanted to be home a little bit more, but I was sort of mentally done. The year before, I still was gun-ho, and I played 14, and I knew at the start of the year that, shit, this could be my last year, you know, because I was mentally fatigued, I was mentally done and starting to check out. And when that happens, I think, in any professional sport, you can't be at your top of your game. So, you know, I focused really hard on 14 to finish the year off strong, and I did that, and I just knew, you know, that this was the time. So, but the thing was that the transition took a couple of years in the planning too. You know, like from organising a role at the Roosters still, and positioning Minifit to get a little bit busier. Doing some stuff with the NRL community team, and I was pretty lucky because I had a lot of connections built up because I stayed at the club for 18 years. So I was pretty much luckier than most. If some of my mates chopped and changed different clubs, and when they retired, they found it really hard, and some of them are still struggling now to trying to find their way and their passion, you know, and find a new purpose. But my new purpose was this space, health and fitness, because I've learnt so much from my injuries, and this was something that I wanted to direct my life into, you know. So that's something that was a new focus of mine, and that's what I dived into. Dived into Minifit, and then I'm still connected with the club, so I'm still around rugby league. So it's been a smoother transition, yeah.
Awesome. Literally a couple more questions. That was great, man. Thanks a lot for that. Pretty much covered my next two almost there, so that's great. You're on fire, mate. I was just going to say, like, mental health. I'm really trying to spread the message out there.
Yep.
Because I had some issues when I was younger in terms of, you know, some like mental health issues, and I've had like 2 guys on this podcast who've got their own mental health awareness groups, because I think it's becoming a bit of almost like an epidemic now, the amount of people that are suffering with mental health ailments, and I think the stats are like 1 in 5 people.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, how is it? How do you like? Is anything tools you have in place in terms of like managing your own mental health, and like, do you see? Are you actually seeing this as an issue yourself? Are you noticing that, you know, obviously the deterioration of certain people and whatnot with their mind? Or
that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. That's more and more people you find every day that are saying, yeah, no, I've got a few issues, got a few mental health issues, I need help. But what I look at it is the way you run your lifestyle. You know, if you're getting quality sleep every night, 7 to 8 hours. You know, for me, I wake up and obviously brush my teeth, but then I have a big glass of water with a pinch of salt in it, and then I try and get some natural sunlight or do some nice breathing, and then I train or do some exercise, and then I've started my day, you know, and I head to work, and then I have good food at lunch, and I have good food at dinner, you know, like. Cutting the whole lifestyle aspect comes into it with, you know, what you eat, cutting out the inflammation with refined carbohydrates and sugar, getting good quality sleep, hydration, you know, getting natural sunlight instead of all the blue light and technology light that we get, or the fake light. So everything is, I believe everything is connected.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So,
and relationships, sorry to interrupt there, relationships and social connections,
yeah,
really
social
important,
connection
right?
is huge.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, you know, finding someone that is in the same sort of area or space as you, and training with those guys, or creating a good community base around that, and communicating with your loved ones as well is important. So everything is connected. So if you're doing little things right, from nutrition, hydration, sleep, community, family, natural sun.
Apologies, everyone. Minor technical error there. We cut out for around 30 seconds, but Anthony went on to finish to say about natural daylight, how important that was, and then the next thing was relationships and social connections, how important they were. And the next question was, Anthony, what is your favourite quote or saying you would like to mention to the listeners?
Treat others the way you would like to be treated yourself.
Yep. Awesome. That's great, man. Thanks a lot for your time. And where can the listeners find you?
So my Instagram is Minichiello 001. You can look me up on progression.io as well, and minifit.com.au.
Awesome. Thanks very much for your time, mate.
Beautiful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.